Hello everyone, welcome again in Eng-Man YouTube channel. So in this video, we will continue our learning on WellFlo software. And in today's video, I'm going to talk about creating the inflow performance relationship using manual method. Okay, in previous WellFlo videos, I've talked about generating the IPR or estimating the productivity index value using either layer parameters or test data. Okay, in layer parameters, you need to provide the software with something like permeability from log, for example, thickness. You need to model the drainage area geometry. You need to model also the skin factor for the completion type, either open hole, case hole, gravel pack, something like that. Okay, and then you finally arrive at the computation of the productivity index, the absolute open flow, and the total Darcy skin. And you can show the IPR, you can generate the IPR like this one. Okay, so you need to provide all those parameters. Okay, you can do the analysis, you can make assumption, you need to calculate, for example, you estimate the drainage area of your well, okay, something like that. You also need some assumptions for the skin factor modeling, something like that. You need to provide all of those informations into the software until you finally arrive at generating the IPR. All right. But you can also construct the IPR using well-test data. Here, go to the test data. The main information that you need to provide here is, of course, the test point data. Okay, test pressure, the bottom hole pressure, and the test flow rate, the flow rate during the well test. You need to measure the flow rate and the bottom hole pressure at the same time during the same well test sequence. Okay, if you have pump, if you have downhole gauge in your pump, you can also input the pump intake pressure, or you can also measure the fluid level to finally calculate the bottom hole pressure. If you have the data, the test point data, you can also calculate the productivity index using this feature and absolute open flow and construct the IPR. All right. And now in this video, I'm going to show you the manual inputting, which is the simplest one. Here, we just need to provide the final productivity index value that we already determined before. Okay, so you need to provide the software with predetermined value of productivity index. You can actually, for example, make assumption about the PI, about the J, or you can get the value from maybe a document that tells you about the value of the productivity index of that well. You can also conduct well tests from which you get the productivity index value and put it here. Okay, so you just need to provide the value of productivity index into the software. Like this one, I'm going to show you. So this is X reservoir, provide the pressure, temperature, middle perforation, of course, the water cut 97%, gas oil ratio 300. And let's say I'm going to model the IPR using Vogel, coefficient 0.2, and the single productivity index of 15 stock tank barrel per day per PSI. So I just need to provide the software with this value. And the rest is, of course, you need to provide them. Okay, but you need to provide them also for layer parameters and test data. But here in manual inputting, you don't need to put the permeability, the drainage area geometry. You don't need to model the skin factor for the completion type. Okay, you don't need the well test data point. You just need the productivity index value that maybe you can guess. Maybe you use assumption, or maybe you just have rough data, rough value, put it here, and you generate the IPR and you calculate the absolute open flow. So it's very easy. Like in this case, if the productivity index is 15, then the absolute open flow is 7,142, and you get the IPR. All right. So it's like this. You can also change it to straight line IPR, the productivity index value, for example, 20. But to make it more realistic, usually you have straight line IPR with very low gas oil ratio, let's say just 5. So you click on apply, you create IPR, you get the straight line IPR right away. So again, the main value that you need to provide is, of course, the productivity index. You can get this predetermined value from assumption, from discussion maybe. You can make, or you can use a rough estimation, just put it 20. Or maybe you also do well test, you calculate it from another analysis and you get the result for the productivity index value. You put it here, you show the IPR. Right, so it's very easy. Again, in WellFlo, we can construct or we can generate the productivity index. We can construct the IPR using layer parameters, test data, and manual, which is the simplest one. Okay, so I think that's all. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope this video is useful. Thank you so much for watching. See you again in the next Eng-Man videos. Thank you.